Hello, hello. Claire Guest here with William Ravis Real Estate in the Guilford office. And joining me today is...
Hi, Brian Skelly, mortgage banker with William Ravis Mortgage.
Fabulous. And today we are talking about some mistakes to avoid. Everybody wants to buy a house. You want to get out of your rental because you don't know what's going to happen to your rental. Let's buy a house. Let's make it happen. Do not assume you know everything during the process. What do you advise people to do during the mortgage process?
Yeah, so once you're already pre-approved and you got your offer accepted on the house, or even once you're pre-approved, essentially, the general rule of thumb is you don't want to make any significant changes to your situation without talking to a mortgage expert first.
Gotcha.
We could get into kind of some of the specifics, but that's the general rule of thumb. And the reason for that is there is a lot of guidelines and rules when it comes to mortgages. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of pages of all the things that we're supposed to check for somebody that's getting a mortgage.
Gotcha.
And, some of these rules might not be totally intuitive to some people because what the bank thinks is important might not always be what the home buyer thinks is important.
True.
For example, generally, a lot of home buyers will think like, oh, credit card debt is not good. I'm going to pay off my credit cards because that'll make me in a better position to get a mortgage. Not always the case. If the minimum payments are not that high on the credit cards, we might not really care about the credit card debt, but we might want to see that money in the bank account so we can use that for the down payment.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of an example. How about you? Have any stories? Anybody done something they weren't supposed to?
I do have one particular story. We were planning on closing on a house in February, and the gentleman who had a lot of cash, a lot of income, he thought he was fine, wanted to lease a car and didn't say anything to anybody. So he took out a lease, like a 5-year lease on a car with about $700 a month payment 2 weeks before we were scheduled to close. So there was a little untangling to do. We wound up closing months later because I do not give up on a deal and I will see it through to the end. But there was a little pain in the process. But it didn't occur to him that leasing a car was going to affect his entire financial picture, because what he was doing was then he was renting that car. So he, in his mind, thought it was income.
Okay.
So it's never simple. And that's why you need experts.
Absolutely. So what a lot of folks don't realize is the mortgage lenders monitor your credit, and they get a notification if somebody checks it, and then they'll say, well, why do they check it? And they'll say, oh, you have a new monthly payment. What is that monthly payment? And sometimes the loan's still approved. I mean, sometimes worst case scenario, if you were like kind of right at the limit of just kind of shopping at the top of your price range, all of a sudden you have another new monthly payment, new credit card, new loan, new car lease, whatever, that could push you over the limit. And that's like a worst case scenario. You have this issue come up.
What about closing credit cards? Is that something you should do or shouldn't do?
I mean, again, just generally rule of thumb is don't make any changes. You're in the middle of buying a house, don't close any accounts, don't open any accounts, don't change your job, don't make any large deposits.
Don't get fired.
Sometimes you don't have control over that, but that we will call and verify that you still have a job right before closing. So if you're going to change, try not to change anything. And if you are going to change anything about your income, your assets, your credit, your monthly payments, call your mortgage lender and say, this is what I'm thinking about doing, and then get some advice.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I'm going to plug my website. If you want to talk to me about mortgages, you can go to schedulealoanappointment.com and book a time for a phone call. Thanks so much.
And we're going to type that in the bottom somewhere.
All right.
I have somebody to help me do that. Yay!
All right.
Look forward to seeing you again soon.